There we go. All right. All right. So I'm not going to even cap on y'all. So I usually have a smoother transition than this when the countdown goes on. But and I could come up with some elaborate scheme to why I did not show up on screen personally right as the countdown ended. So only thing I'm gonna say is, bro, I was making food, like no cap. So I made soup. I made my soup over here. You know, I didn't want anything too heavy. Last time I ate barbecue chicken in front of y'all, it was a bit obnoxious. Apparently, some of y'all were fasting. I don't know why y'all fast this early or this late in the year. I mean, like, it sounds pretty depressing. I'm sorry. And I made some coffee, you know what I'm saying? So I have it in my coffee cup that says, "In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths." So I had fervency for the Lord as I was making my food. And it just, yeah, so it got me a little caught up. I was trying to see if I could get back here in time. I did not, but guess what? I'm late. And if your feelings are hurt or you're offended by it, I mean, stop being so sensitive. I guess this is my podcast. I kind of do what I want. Anyway, hope everybody's doing okay. Everybody that's tuning in today live and those that are, watching the playback. Please let us know where you are watching this from. I know this is a little early that people are accustomed to, but that's cool. This is all good. I think this will be a nice, fruitful, insightful, edifying conversation. And if it isn't, and it just ends up like getting really awkward, or we end up just having a tons of laughs, I don't know. I mean, it's early in the day. That doesn't necessarily dictate how the rest of our day is going to be. But yeah, I think that's about it. Before I bring my guests on this morning, I'm gonna drop the intro real quick. Through my ancestors in the ocean. Now we became the new wave, and we're about to drown this system. Every time I go in, every time I go in, every time I go in, boy, I'm jelly. Every time I go in, every time I go in, every time I go in, boy, I'm jelly. I'm a kid, I'm a kid, I'm a kid, boy, I'm jelly. I'm a kid, I'm a kid, I'm a kid, boy, I'm jelly. Welcome everybody to the Kid Casper podcast. I'm your gracious, beautiful, blessed, beloved, and black host, the kid that they call Casper. The KID in Kid Casper stands for that king of development. I'm that menace with the melanin. Reject me as I am, as long as he is still relevant. Somebody told me my monitors was a little low. Appreciate you texting me. You could have dropped it in the chat, but that's all good and dandy. It's all good. If this is your first time tuning in and experiencing me, seeing my face as it is it winter yet? I'm looking at my guests in the monitors. It's winter, right? It's definitely winter. Okay, cool. Because it was like 23 degrees yesterday when I woke up, and I did not appreciate it. Mother Nature was being very violent. She chose violence very early. It was cold, and it was to the point that if you flared your nostrils too fast, you were gonna have a nosebleed. It was a little ridiculous, and I appreciate you getting comfortable, getting your tea ready and everything like that. I'm gonna let you doctor your cup up. You all right? You all right? If this is your first time tuning in today, hello. I'm the quirky kid that they call Casper. I am a Christian raptivist. Yes, rapper / activist. I love Jesus. I'm just really super far from a pacifist. You know what I'm saying? Try Jesus, not me. I need Jesus. Jesus does not need me. Wants me, but not really. He will be Jesus with or without me at the end of the day. Amen. Amen. Taco enthusiast, certified nerd, ghostthreads.com. That's how we pay the bills around here. There's something else I'm supposed to mention. Oh yeah. There was some I forgot what it was. Oh yeah. Please be kind. And when I say be kind, I've just noticed this, especially I would say I've noticed this from last year, especially going into this year, as we're approaching the holidays and everything like that. Everybody is on edge in some sense, whether it's financial, whether it's emotional, spiritual, mental. There's brokenness in all shapes and forms. Y'all know me, y'all know my slogan. It's lead with love, based off of 1 Corinthians 16:14. Do everything in love and let everything you do be done in love. That will not be tolerated, not only on any of my channels, any of my platforms. Not that I've had an issue with it. I've just kind of noticed it during this time, and people, it's kind of life or death for everybody. So I'm just encouraging, especially if you follow me, or, you know, if I see you acting stupid in somebody else's comment sections around this time, I don't have a place for you. I don't personally. I don't care if you're a part of my Patreon and you pay me monthly. I just don't have time for that. We're gonna sow seeds of love intentionally around here. You know what I'm saying? Because around this time, it could literally mean life or death for somebody. Amen. Amen. Cool. Just want to get that intense part out of the way. My guest, I was about to say this evening. My guest this morning is somebody I met in this space on TikTok, just like everybody else. Well, actually, no, I met her on Instagram from somebody who I met on TikTok, which is hilarious. It's funny that like TikTok has become like it for those that are introverted like myself. It's like the best way I could find friends, I would say, because we know like people. I'm a social vegan. I avoid meat. You know what I'm saying? I avoid meetups. I just don't do it. But this is also somebody that I'm going to, and we'll give this, we'll talk a little bit about this towards the end, but somebody I'm looking to be doing some work with in the near future. Did not know we traveled in the same circles. Area codes. It's kind of funny how this all works out. But everybody, my guest this morning is, I'm going to address her as Queen Ja, aka Feliznappydad on TikTok. Did I enunciate that right, my sister? Yes. All righty. Well, first off, I would like to say thank you for accepting my invitation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny how, first off, sorry for scheduling purposes. I know we've been trying to do other things together over what seems like the last month. It's been kind of hectic, to say the least. But you know, the Lord carved out time for us. I, for some odd reason, kept thinking you operated on the West Coast. I don't know where that came into play. I think it's because of Lonnie. Matter of fact, Imperfect Aesthetic is the reason that we end up getting acquainted. But I, for some odd reason, thought you was out in Cali, girl. I was like, oh, man, I got to work off of her.
Literally, I've never been.
she was like, wait, why do you keep saying You keep saying like, PST. What is PST? Like,
like that's not where I live.
I was, look, that should at least let you know if you did, I was willing to accommodate. But that
right, and I appreciate that. The context, you were throwing out different numbers. I'm like, I know I'm not good at math, but this math is not math. Like, hold up.
Yeah. Which is sad because context is my favorite color, and I was very, very bad at that in that moment. So it was first off, we got it done. We're here. We made it. Thank God.
Thank God.
And hopefully that this will not be the last. What's up, Auntie Maya from North Kakalaka? You know what I'm saying? But this won't be the last time. As not only like with just us having a dialogue, because this will be the first time you and me have actually like spoke. This will be dope. For all I know, we might end up hating each other, which is gonna be really weird when December comes around. Hope not. I mean, like, we don't know. But anyway, first off, like I said, I wanted to say thank you for accepting my invitation and sharing this space with me. This should be dope. For the first question I would like to ask you, and just more so a request, if you had to give like an elevator's pitch to who Ja, aka Feliznappydad, is, elevator's pitch, make it plain for the people. Tell us who you is and what you about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So yeah, my name is, you can call me Jai, Feliznappydad on TikTok. I'm also on Twitter, but not as often, but I definitely want to get into it more. Elevator pitch. I'm really long-winded, so I'm going to try to keep this short.
That's all right. You here on my podcast. You know what I'm saying? These podcasts get real Pentecostal. Take your time, Queen. You got it.
So, yeah, I'm a deconstructing Christian. I struggle with that label, to be honest, now, the label of a Christian. I still believe in God, absolutely. Read scripture, pray. I'm not going to stop listening to gospel or Christian music. But I just have a really hard time with the label. I was not prepared for this. Let's see. My TikTok is about kind of like exploring different ideas that we've been taught to believe, like growing up in the evangelical space. Hey, Maya, I hope I said that right. And yeah, just I really enjoy challenging people's ways of thinking, because I find that I myself have kind of lived on kind of the cusp of different circles. So like I grew up in mostly a white evangelical space, but then I'm Black, and I do have some experience in Black church culture as well. And then like living here, but also living overseas. And so I find that I'm like kind of at this intersection in a lot of ways. And so I try to challenge people and bring understanding, whether it be through TikTok, my own personal social media accounts, and personal relationships.
All righty. First off, you didn't get too long-winded. You did just fine. Thank you, Maya. I was, and also
Thank you.
Jai, if you wanted to actually put, Jai and Feliznappydad for your little screen tag thing, you allowed to do that. You know what I'm saying? That way people
How do I do this?
Right. You'll click like the little three dots.
I see what you're saying. To edit my name.
Yeah, if you wanted to, that's completely up to you. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm
doing it right
while you're sitting there getting ready for that, you got a little bit of time for my next super intense question. So you didn't prepare for this. You said you also have not watched my content before? If
I watched part of one episode.
Part of one episode. All right. You have no idea what's coming next.
So it was like, and it was something that it was a topic I was familiar with already. And I struggle with watching things that are a bit longer. So nothing against you.
Oh, no. Look, my podcast gets a little Pentecostal. You're more than fine. It's not everybody's cup of tea or your cup of tea. All good. All good. But so you have no idea what's coming next, bet. So for my next super intense grilling question is, if you had to pick a favorite Disney princess, what would that be?
Oh man. Right off the bat, I would say like my latest favorite is for sure Moana. And I say that because I feel like I relate to her in a lot of ways. And actually the movie had come out a year before I'd moved to Malaysia, and like Malaysia's kind of in that side of the world anyway, but like kind of going beyond like the limitations that may have been placed on me. And I liked what Donnell writes on TikTok said, like, he really resonates with the whole Moana thing, especially in terms of like deconstructing, like going beyond what we've kind of been told to like believe and to hold on to. I really just appreciate the storyline in that, and her just kind of going with her convictions about what she needed to do as Moana.
All righty. And for my next super intense grilling question, and because I know you didn't prepare for this may let me know if you're cooler than me or not. So far you're doing all right. I would say we're on that same level, I would say, but this will let me know. If you had to pick a starter 6 Pokemon set, what starting 6 Yep, I see your eyebrow.
Yeah.
What starting 6 Pokemon would that be? Yep. Everybody went through this. It's okay.
First of all, I'm like, can I even name 6 Pokemon characters? Because literally, I probably have not even touched a Pokemon card since elementary school, and I was like not that into it. Gosh, you really put me on the spot with this one.
Absolutely. Welcome to the podcast.
Literally, this will be naming the ones that I know. So Pikachu. There's oh my gosh, I don't even know the names. Isn't there one like, please forgive me for this, but oh my gosh, I'm about to embarrass myself. Charmander, or what is
Charmander? Yeah, you're good.
Charmander,
you're good.
Yeah. Literally, okay, I'm 31, so this has been like 20 years ago that I've
Hold on, say that again.
I'm 31.
You're what? You're 31?
Yes.
See what happens when you drink water? See what happens when you drink water? Mind your business, everybody. Go ahead. You all right? Okay.
Okay. And I really appreciate that, because some days I look at myself and I'm like, dang, life has really hit you hard. But anyway, so
I felt that so strong.
I'm so serious. Like, honestly, if you knew me back in high school, you'd be like, ooh, what happened? But yeah, I'm 31. Pokemon like really became a thing, at least from what I remember, when I was probably in 4th or 5th grade. And that was like 20 years ago, right? So it's been a while. So the fact that I even knew those two, And visually, I'll be like, oh yeah, those are Pokemon characters, but don't ask me what their names are.
Wow. So you only got 2 for me? You want me to help you out a little bit, my
You can
sister?
help me out.
Okay. You said, I think you said Pikachu. Yes. Okay. You said Charmander.
Yeah.
Do you remember Jinx by chance? Shorty that had like the awful wig, like the big lips.
No. What is the pink thing called? Don't tell me. There's like a little puffball thing. Or am I? Oh wait, that's a Mario character.
Jigglypuff.
Yes.
Okay, so we're at 4. Okay. Do you remember Eevee by chance? Eevee is like, it's like the dog that like could evolve into like other variations, whether it was like lightning, thunder. Well, not lightning and thunder, lightning, fire. You really are cooler than me. Okay. All right. You did.
I'm sorry. I nerd out about different things. I love nerds. Like I appreciate having nerds in my circle of friends, but like I think we all nerd out about different things.
Oh yeah, the Black experience is not a monolithic experience. The nerd experience is not a monolithic experience. Like I was in marching band.
Yeah, and I
clearly
love
weren't in marching band just by that response.
I mean, I wish I knew how to play an instrument. Like, oh my gosh, when I was in 5th grade. This is so embarrassing. Can I tell this story real quick?
Go.
Okay.
Girl, go ahead. We're sharing the space together. This is good.
Take me back to, like 5th grade, right? So we didn't have an official like band class in 5th grade. Like that didn't start till like middle school and then on to high school. 5th grade, we were allowed to kind of start band. And so like what they did was basically you got excused for maybe reading or some other subject during the day. And so like, I mean, it sounded interesting. Like, oh, band, I want to learn to play an instrument. I have like great aspirations, but the actual like follow through and like actually putting in the work to get something done is often lacking. So I was not actually learning and I was like pretending to play. And of course, like, I don't know what I thought in 5th grade that I thought that I was going to be able to do that and have him not notice. Right. And one day he just straight up was like, yeah, some of y'all in here don't actually know how to play this music. You're just like just pretending to play. And yeah, so that was like the end of my just saw your face. That was the end of my.
You felt real seen. You felt real seen that moment.
I was real seen in all the ways that I did not want to be seen. But yeah, I love music though. I just wish I were like more dedicated, but also I was playing an instrument that I didn't want to play. So you saw me doing this. I had the flute. So like my sister already played the flute. So we already had a flute in our house. So I just used that. Also, and now that I'm thinking like in COVID terms, I'm like, I cannot believe I was using the flute that my sister used. But anyway, yeah, so I honestly wish I had played like the sax or like learned how to play drums. Like I love drums and stuff like that. And I really wish I had like been like, no, I want to play this instrument because maybe I would have been more like focused. Because when I really do like things, this is a great feature of ADHD. When I really like something, I can focus and get it done. But clearly flute in 5th grade was just not.
Flute was not fluting right. We couldn't flute with the flute. You know what I'm saying? I understand.
Flute was the fluke.
Flute was the flute. Well, first off, I'm just gonna let you know you failed the Pokemon question. That's fine.
Yeah.
You're not. You said you're not the first one. There are people that just flat out like, I'm not answering that. I'm like, all right, you're stuck up. Okay.
At least have fun and make a fool of myself.
All right, T. Well, so what I'd like to do, tell you a little bit about myself. What I like to do with this podcast, I originally started this up to interview different like artists, creatives that I've, become acquainted to over the years. After Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, I felt like I felt this compulsion within my spirit to essentially provide social commentary to like what we're seeing out in the world as a disciple of Christ. I too struggle with that word Christian nowadays. It's such a dirty word. So, like, because especially when people are like, oh, you're a Christian. It's like, yeah, Christians also stormed the Capitol and like raided other countries and like ethnically cleansed other people. So it's like, It's like,
What?
disciple of Christ is a safe zone for me. But yes. But for me, I felt like, if not providing commentary, my thoughts, a kingdom perspective to like what I see out in the world, is one, we're supposed to have an opinion and have thoughts on it. And as we know, the Bible was written for social justice. The Bible is social justice. So I've not only, dramatically, there was like a radical change in not only how I approach just like these interviews, because I was like, I can't just talk surface level stuff with you. I don't want to just talk about content with you. I want to know who you are, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be essentially hopefully some of y'all make it. I'm looking to see some of y'all in heaven. But I think I would like to get to know different people while I'm down here. And, and one of the things I like to do is just humanize the content creator. It's cool to know the content, but you don't get an opinion on somebody really on who they are just from a minute clip or a 3-minute clip on TikTok. So my sister, this is just, giving you the time and space to just talk about yourself. So if you can go back as far back as you can remember, talk to me about the early development stages of a young Jai. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So yeah, I am from the Eastern Shore of Maryland. So if you're from like the Mid-Atlantic region, you probably know what that is, but it's basically so like Maryland basically has two sides. I would really divide it into three. Because there's like the DMV, Baltimore area, like the kind of the central part of Maryland. And then you have like Western Maryland, which is basically Appalachia. And then like where I grew up, which is the Eastern Shore, which is like the peninsula that's shared with Delaware. I grew up there. That was really a whole lot. I don't know why I just did that. But so I grew up there, grew up in a home where we like regularly attended church. So I remember like early on, I was probably like 4 or 5 years old. And I remember like being at home and my sister was going somewhere like with her friend, like in this bus, and they were going somewhere. And I think I like slowly realized that they were going to Sunday school. And I was like, oh, I want to go, typical younger kid, like, oh, I want to do that. And it didn't click to me in my head until later that like, wait, that means we weren't going to church then. But I didn't think anything about it. But I think like later on, like when I was 6 and on, we started regularly going to church. And so got acquainted with like God and the church and things like that. And I would say like I became a Christian early on, trying to do the right thing, but also like just a very there's so many ways I can go about this, but like I was a kid that like grew up in church and slowly understood more about the Bible and about God, and like wanted to be pleasing to God and things like that. And try to be like a good girl. And it's hard for me to like say what I was, because even like looking back, I'm like, I feel like, was I really like a good kid, or was I just really good about like hiding certain parts of myself or whatever? And so I could be very like sarcastic and like definitely my mouth got me in trouble. And I feel like today, like now it's like,
girl,
I feel like God is right.
Being where we from, I understand.
Right. My mouth got me in trouble. And it's funny because now I'm like, my mouth is getting me in trouble and I don't care. Before it was like a thing of shame, but now I'm like, no, I feel like God is using my voice to free captives and to get people to think about things differently. And so I don't, I'm not ashamed about that anymore. Like back then I'm like, dang, I was like, but I feel like who we are as kids is who we are, but like in the raw, like in the rough, and like we just have to be refined over time. And like I'm not fully there yet, but I'm thankful for that process and becoming more, hopefully using my voice to like lift up the oppressed and like the marginalized and to get people to think about things differently. I feel like that's something people have said about me, was that I was mature for my age. Now I feel like I'm mega immature for my age. But that I was mature for my age, and I'm like losing my train of thought. I was very mature for my age, and always had like words of wisdom and was inspirational and things like that. And now it's like, I think as I gotten older, the circles that I've always been in, come to realize that some of my thoughts are probably a little too radical for them. And they're not really huge fans of some of the things I have to say, which I don't care about anymore. I used to care a lot as a kid about what people thought about me. And so I presented this like kind of facade of like righteousness and like wanting to come off a certain way. And like literally over the past year, I've just like burned out from caring about what people think. And I'm just like, I don't care. This is who I am. These are things that I care about. These are things that I'm passionate about. And so I'm going to speak on them. So
it's funny how you talk about Sunday school as a kid. I remember, I think I was living in Kansas at the time. So I'm originally from Wichita, Kansas, 316. What's up? And I remember when I was like, I think it was like my older sister was going to Sunday school and she came back with candy. And I was like, where'd you get that from? And she was like, from Sunday school. I'm like, well, the next time it's Sunday, I want to go to school because you got that. And I want to make sure I get me some of that. I did not. Now, the candy stopped doing it for me after a while, obviously. I stopped going to church as a youth. Like, I just was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not. This is, I think for me, very early on, I felt like religious spirits, I would say. Even though I didn't even understand them, I was like, I don't like this. This ain't it. And I was going to hell on a scholarship, essentially. That's a polite way I could talk about myself. I was going to hell on scholarship, baby girl. It was bad. And I didn't get saved till I was 19. God just kind of, when I say like God was very present, prominent, and made himself known to me at 19. It was personal, but it was intimate, it was real, and it was authentic though. I gave my life to God when I was 19. So like first time I felt him, it was about, actually no, I want to say I was 18. Matter of fact, when I first experienced the presence of God when I was 18, didn't give my life to him until like maybe like a year later. And so I never grew up in the church. So when other people tell me like, but they're like, man, I grew up doing this, that, and the third. I was like, man, I used to think if I went in the church and I hopped in the baptism water, that would start bubbling or something like that. I don't know. I was really worried. I was like, do you sure you want your pastor in this water with me? Are you sure? Because I'm kind of petty. I might like open my eyes and like roll my eyes to the back of my head when I'm getting baptized to freak everybody out. I don't know. But I'm serious. Like I was definitely a skeptic. But I think God honored my skepticism growing up because he was like, at least you were questioning me. You were questioning me. And you know what I'm saying? I didn't, my relationship with God was not secondhand, meaning like it was something that I myself had to breathe in and breathe out. So I definitely get what you mean for yourself when you're like, I mean, I wasn't really a Christian at one point. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, because I went to church, but the devil goes to church too. So it's like, that ain't it. I am curious. One thing that you did say is you felt like at one point that, I guess like not so much that you, and I just brought up like my skepticism and stuff like that. So I'm tying this together. At one point you just started, I would say, just saying what you thought out loud. And wherever it landed. When do you feel like, I would say, and you said like God was using you, when did you notice that for yourself where you were just like, I have an opinion on this? When was that for you?
Honestly, I feel like it's always been there. Like, I don't know why this story came to mind, but like we were working on something at home, like my mom, me, and like my brother or something. And I don't know if I felt like I was the one doing most of the work or something. And I think I said something like, there's no I in team or whatever. So like just speaking out on like, okay, I don't feel like this is right. Or like, I go back to like I guess in my mind, I think about like speaking out about like injustices I see. And if I don't answer your question fully, please like bring me
Oh,
back.
you're good. And like
Okay.
I said, take your time. I'm over here
Okay.
eating my soup. I was eating barbecue chicken with one of my guests the last time they were here. Take your time. You all right. You all right.
So yeah, I think back to like when I was in first grade, there was this kid, Greg, and there was a girl named Jaya. So kind of like my nickname Jai, but like Jaya. And I remember she was like picking on him, and like I was just, I guess in me, I'm like, that's not right. Like you can't be like, I like stood up for him basically. And he was like a lot like smaller than her. Like she was kind of like one of the bigger kids in class, and he was like one of the smaller kids in class. Um, I don't know if anyone even remembers that, but it was just like, oh wow, it's kind of cool. Like looking back, like I didn't think anything of it in that moment, but like looking back, I'm like, wow, like I really have not changed. It's just a matter of like how much I've allowed certain things to like come out, versus like me holding it in. Did I answer that question, or if you need me to answer
No,
it?
no,
Like,
no, no, you're good.
okay.
It sounds like well, even like when you say like you said like you described it as injustice. Did you feel like something pull on you even in that moment, like growing up, where you were like, I feel like I need to say something? Like, what could you speak to? Like, I would say like the internalized feeling during that time.
Yeah. It was just like this internal like, this isn't right. Like he is like small and kind of defenseless, and you are like bigger. Like I can't. I'm here. Like why? Like I need to say something. So it was kind of one of those situations. Outside of that, like my memory is not always great, and it might take me a little while to like remember other things. Yeah, I feel like I think those would be examples. And like I may have felt differently in those different situations. So it may have, when I just feel like in general, like that's just who I am. So it's not like lot of like super pivotal moments, I guess.
I get that for sure. So for me, one thing I could also relate to is like my mouth growing up. I was one of those people. Like once again, skeptic, questioned everything. A
Mhm.
teacher be like, "Hey, you can't talk. Why can't I talk? I have a voice. You're telling me not to
Mhm.
talk, or you would like for me to stop talking, or I'm not allowed to talk? Because then I have to
Yeah,
question, why am I not allowed to talk?
right.
If I thought the teacher mistreated me or somebody else, or my parents did something that I didn't like, I would let them. I don't really like that. Like that. That just was me.
Yeah,
I was always that person who was like, if there's a crack, why is there a crack? I need to figure out why there's a crack. But I would voice that out loud,
yeah.
and they did
Okay,
not.
that just made me that just
They
made
did
me
not care for that.
yeah. Yeah. That made me think back to in 8th grade. This kid, like, we were all like, we got our test back in English class, and I had seen, I guess we were all like looking at each other's like tests, like after we had gotten the results back. And this one kid who was like quiet, like I was looking at his test, and I saw that he had a certain number incorrect, and I saw his percentage. And like in my mind, like when I first looked at it, I thought it was like that the teacher had miscalculated. And he was like, no, it's okay, it's fine. And I'm like, no, this isn't right. It turned out that like I was the one that did the math wrong. But I actually went up to the teacher and was like, you miscalculated his his test score. And she like quickly corrected me, but I don't think she was a huge fan of the fact that I even like tried to come up to her and try to correct her.
Like y'all was equals. You like, look,
Right.
ma, I don't, I don't
And I
appreciate.
was wrong. I was wrong, but like I think the heart behind it was right. But I was way wrong.
Gotcha. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
One thing I am curious about, you mentioned this in your introduction. You said that you grew up in predominantly, I would say, like white evangelical spaces. And obviously, just from looking at you, it's like, but sis, you black. Like, what does that mean for you? Well, but I know this just, if not so much for like evangelicalism. I didn't grow up in the church, but obviously in this white world, I've been in a lot of white spaces. Can you speak to, because it sounds like you've had like a sense of like familiarity when it comes to life with God your whole life for the most part. What was that like for you when we're talking about growing up in these like white evangelical spaces, operating in them and everything that comes with that?
Yeah. So I would say that like my experience, and just so you know, my roommate's gonna walk past. So if you hear a noise in the background, that's what it is.
Oh, all good. I've had somebody's legit child hop in their lap and bust out in song. So you're
so
more than
funny.
fine. Like,
yeah. Yeah. Hey. So yeah. So it's interesting because the first church I like grew up in was a very it was more like charismatic white church. So like I had somewhat of the Pentecostal experience, even though it was like a white church. And then from there, I went to another church that was Methodist, but like they definitely it was definitely more like charismatic. So like I just wanted to give like the visual picture of like, it wasn't just one of those like super liturgical, quiet spaces. It was definitely like loud and boisterous. In a lot of ways, I think emulated some characteristics of Black churches, but not all. And it was mostly just normal. I do remember feeling a sense of embarrassment though, because I went to a white church, because like when talking to Black friends, I feel like they might like tease you for like being in a white church because like they might have a certain opinion about the style of singing or whatever. Like it's just different. And so that was interesting. Yeah, and so I remember like most of my friends at church were white, in the church that I grew up in. And then, like I said, that church that I mentioned second was the church I like started kind of going to in college. And what was cool about that was that like the church itself was like mostly white, but then they had this college ministry that was like a mix of kids from like a PWI. For those of you guys don't know, it's a predominantly white institution, and an HBCU, historically Black college or university. So it was about 50-50 of white and Black. So that was kind of a cool, diverse experience. But in both, I would say, you know, you still have the influences of culture that are specific to the Eastern Shore, which is, if I'm not mistaken, just to give context about where I came from, one of the last lynchings took place in my hometown in Maryland. So back in like 1930 something. And like, there's definitely still like a lot of racial tension. I mean, like on the surface, it seems like it's okay, but like when you actually like talk to people, you can hear a lot of those sort of residual racist ideas and hatred or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
to remember what you're talking about, we just recently, earlier this year, we just had somebody be, they were exonerated, though they were lynched in Maryland. We just had Governor Hogan just exonerate them like earlier this year. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And yeah, so that was like a whole thing. But yeah, so I feel like the attitude is either like overt racism or like this kind of like indifference that you see that's like very common in a lot of spaces. And so I want to share this story, which didn't happen as a kid, but like I think it's important to share so you understand like the mindset of the people that were at the church.
Take your time, sister. You good.
Yeah. So the church I went to, I was not there when this happened, but my parents told me around the whole time when Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee and things like that. Do you know that my former pastor's son literally from the pulpit was like, something, we're gonna stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance in church, saying the Pledge of Allegiance in church, like in the context of Colin Kaepernick taking in, right. You need to zoom in on your face on that. Yes. Yeah. So he literally was like, yeah, we're going to stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance. And again, this church, at this point, like when I was a kid, it was like mostly white, but at the point that I had gotten to, like adulthood, it was, and even as a teenager, it was like starting to become more like 50-50. So there's a considerable number of Black people at this church. And in the context of Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, he thought it was a good idea to say this. And I was like, what? And, my parents stayed even after that, but it wasn't until last year when they met with the pastor and another Black couple to talk about, like, we need to be talking about this in church, and them not really like getting it and kind of saying like, I didn't know you guys were this sensitive about race.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did. And finally, my parents finally left that church. But it, like, I think over the past year and a half, like, we have been awakened to how many like racist or like thoughts of indifference exist so much in these spaces, right? So like, nope, he wasn't overtly saying bad things about Black people on the pulpit or whatever, or in the pulpit. But like when certain things started happening, the silence or like the overt telling people to stand up and say the pledge were like starting to happen. Yeah, I just find that like so problematic. And then even another church that I was connected with where the pastor was Black, when everything went down with George Floyd last year, he shared a sermon about, honestly, it left people feeling like he just like reinforced people being like racist or like, I didn't personally listen to the sermon, but I know a lot of people were like upset about it and ended up leaving the church because of it. But basically, I think his message was more about like needing to forgive and like, basically you're not going to have full justice here on this side of heaven or whatever. And I don't want to misquote or say too much, but it just didn't leave a good taste. And it should have been an opportunity to speak up about injustices and talk about how we're called to do justice as the church. But it was just really messed up. I really wanted to use the F word there, but I'll be nice. But it was really messed up. Yeah. So yeah, it's just realizing where people stand, or like, that's like the worst end of things, right? And then the other side is like not talking about it. And either way, like for me, it's not acceptable. So
it's not even that. I think it's not only unacceptable, but it's disrespectful, because it's like you want me to feel accepted and respected in this space, but you don't exactly acknowledge the disparity of what I go through and what we go through as a people. At my old church, I used to get so annoyed when my old pastor would say, "Oh, look how diverse our church is," but you would never speak up against like what we go through. It used to piss me off so bad. Okay. Like I remember when the Colin Kaepernick thing happened, somebody used to make a joke or something like that, and they said something along the lines of like, because when somebody's like praying or something like that, you get down on your knees. And I remember like, and it's funny, we're talking about pastors' sons. I had one of the pastor's nephew, and I don't care if everybody who's watching this knows who I'm talking about. I was taking a knee. I was praying next to somebody, like I was laying hands and praying for them. And then like, he was like, wouldn't you rather just stand, since you guys are always kneeling all the time? Something along those lines. And I was like, oh, we're doing that now. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, okay.
Oh my God.
Look, I'm fresh out of jail out of 5 years ago. Let me not I was like, let me not say something that's going to cause us to get in a fight.
Oh my gosh. It's little things like that we have to put up with, and we're expected to just let slide. But if we say something, then we're like the angry Black person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was And and it's funny, I'll send you the video. I talked about like how much damage that did to me, not even like spiritually, it just did like psychologically how much damage that did to me. So yeah, I get it. That's a
Yeah.
Good gosh.
Yeah.
One thing that I am curious about, especially when we're talking about, for context purposes, we're talking about like the last 4 to 5 years. So like you mentioned Colin Kaepernick. So for context purposes, yeah, all right. So 45 gets elected late 2015. He gets not, you know what I'm saying? Wait, is it 2015? No, it's late 2016, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Late 2016, he gets elected. I'm not gonna say his name. You want to say his name? Completely up to you, my sister. Me, I don't care much for Cheeto Head. I'm good. That's just me. And then we notice, and I don't know for you, but for me, I've noticed that the church had a lot to say about that election. They were like, oh, I'm voting for this. I'm voting for this because of this policy. I'm voting for this. This is that and the third. And the same people would have something to say about Mike Brown. They would have stuff to say about, like, you and me know this very well. Like, we just had the Baltimore riots about X amount of years ago. Everybody had commentary about that. And then we get this man that is God's chosen. You know what I'm saying? And we see how we see the complicity, the complacency and the complicity of like the church when it comes to stuff like that. What was that like for you in your faith? Because I've learned, whether you've been saved 30 years, 40 years, or 50 years, that time for a disciple of Christ, especially a disciple of Christ that looks like us, was difficult. What was that like for you, like 2016 heading
Yeah.
into like now?
Yeah, I feel like for me, it's just been disheartening to see the idol that politics has always been, but how much more of an idol it has become. Like, it's like people's like life was hinging on him being elected. Like they acted like he is God, right? Um, and so I just was like, and that's kind of, I know I've posted a few TikToks about that, like just how this has become like an idol for a lot of people. And I'm just like, y'all claim to be Christians and you hoot and holler about all these different things that you feel are so incredibly wrong. But like idolatry is a huge deal. And the fact that you're like propping up this man as like God's chosen is extremely problematic to me. I'm just like, and it's a terrible witness to the outside because whatever reason you have for voting for him or for supporting him, excuse me, is not bearing good witness to the people on the outside. Because no matter what way you flip it, it's like selfish reasons for wanting him to get reelected and wanting him to be in power because you feel like it has to happen through him. I don't know. It's been very disheartening to see. But also I can't be totally surprised because I feel like it's been a long time coming in a lot of ways.
I can kind of speak to that because like now mind you, like I said, I did not grow up in the church. But we all remember what it was like when Barack Obama got elected. You know what I'm saying? So though I wasn't saved, I remember, like, for instance, I was down here in Hartford County, to be specific, when he took the train ride. You know what I'm saying? First off, it was cold as hell that day, my sister. It was cold. It was like my mom pulled it. We gonna see the first black president. We gonna see the. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna meet the president. Man, this nigga waved at me. I was like, it's some bullshit. Like, it's cold as hell. It's like 10 degrees outside. He waved at me. I didn't even get that. I'm serious. That's exactly what happened. That was when he had black in his hair. He didn't have no salt and pepper. He just had all black in his hair. But I remember there were a lot of people out there at that time. I think I was like maybe 14. There were a lot of people out there that were not with in supporting of Barack Obama. And I just remember that was the most people did talk about politics at that point in time in my life. And I was like, what the heck? So when they changed seats, I was like, I was like, you felt this way? Like, there was people I was surprised about. As soon as we saw like Trump about to get elected, I was like, oh, you feel this way about black people? Oh, you feel this way? Oh, black on black crime? I didn't know there was a thing as black on black crime, but okay, tell me about my experience. I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear more. Oh, the riots. Yeah, I mean, I guess they're savages. Sure, it's like Planet of the Apes. I've seen people from my church relate the Baltimore riots to Planet of the Apes from my church, mind you. And I'm sitting there like, huh.
Honestly, I cannot with that narrative, and like especially in the past like year or so, I've come to realize like literally anything we do, anything we are as Black people is, especially specifically in the context of the Black diaspora, anything we do, anything we are is in the context of the racist society that we come from, and how literally it was the Europeans that came over here and were slaughtering and killing and, you know, wiping people off of this continent. Like, we weren't the ones doing that. Like, and it honestly, like, we don't know a lot about our own history. Like, there are so many stories about white mobs coming into Black communities and like wiping them out, massacring them. And we get called, because we are, after years and decades and centuries of being mistreated, we're now speaking out and like acting out of our pain. People are getting upset about that. I'm just like, first of all, clearly you don't know history if you're getting upset about our response to stuff that has been going on for years and years and years.
Yeah, and then like another thing, sorry, I was tripping up over these doggone wires. I was trying to
I was like, what happened?
Because I have my iPhone charger, my microphone cord. Oh, it was everything. Dexter's lab over here. I'm kind of still getting myself situated, but I think like the most frustrating thing when it comes to this is and you may know this as well, is like it's easier to seek nuance for people that you care to seek nuance about.
That part.
You know what I'm saying? Like, every time 45 said something, well, that's not what he meant. He meant this, and he, you know,
so many excuses.
He slept. I mean, if you check Twitter at 4:00 in the morning, he clearly couldn't sleep. That's why he said what he said. And it's like, okay, cool. That's understanding. I understand. We're supposed to be compassionate and seek nuance as Christians. I think that is our first ministry.
But do it for everybody.
Yeah, do it for everybody. Yeah. Like, can I get some nuance? Can I get some nuance with a light ice?
And that is a major problem in America in general, but especially like in a lot of evangelical spaces, is that people have this very bad, like, categorical black-white thinking. It's either this or it's this. And like you said, people can accept nuance within people that they already like agree with and accept or whatever. But with someone on the other side of the aisle, there's that same grace is not extended. There's not like an acceptance that, oh, they have various shades of gray rather than it's either this or it's this.
Yeah, it's wild to me. And I think the thing that really like grinds my gears, pisses me off, just irks my soul, is when it comes to speaking out against these things, when we're talking about bigotry of all forms. And I've had to like learn this from myself, especially as a disciple of Christ. And this is why I say, like, this is mine. Like, this is nobody else's. Like, I left the church like last year with all the nonsense, but like, it's I don't know if you ever heard of this quote growing up. Cruelty like charity begins at home. It's the very things that I thought were Christly, but I've come to realize was not Christly. And I realized that my deconstruction journey started, I want to say, Bruce to Caitlyn Jenner. And I was like, oh, I thought being homophobic and transphobic was being Christian. You know what I'm saying? Like, that this is just me. Like I said, I did not grow up in the church. So when I saw this stuff, I was like, damn, what's wrong with y'all? Like, y'all mean as hell. And then they were like, no, they're
so mean.
They're not to try to trigger anybody, by the way. This is me. I would hear stuff like, they're an abomination. God does not delight and those demonic people. I'm like, so God don't delight in gay people and trans people and non-binary, which I'm still learning about to this day. But racism is cool. God don't even care about him. God don't even care about America this much. I promise. God, America's like only 200 years old. Like,
and like so, what is? Yeah, go ahead.
It's the as I always say, it's the sin of partiality that people refuse to acknowledge, because when the scales are shifted in their favor, it's not being impartial. It's just life. They're like, oh, well, favor ain't fair. This is not favor. This is abuse. What are you talking about? I think we're missing out on like how God works, and better yet, I think we're missing out on how God works and what a God complex is, because I think we lean more towards a God complex, but we have a sense of pride that we can't see that, unfortunately. So when we see our abusive theology, taking place before us, we're all like, oh, well, it's so easy to look at all the good we've done, but not take responsibility for the bad that we've done. So that's where we get what we get today, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so frustrating. It really is. And I feel like I had something that I was going to say and I like lost my train of thought. I hate when that happens.
My bad. We was having a spiritual connection for a
but
second.
Yeah, I was definitely vibing with what you were saying, because it's a major problem. And like the other thing is like with people will so quickly call BLM a terrorist organization, but don't say about KKK. I'm just like, please make it make sense.
That's because the church started the KKK. The church started the KKK. I tell people all the time, I'm like, if y'all had this much energy for the KKK, we wouldn't even need witches. we had witches standing with Amish people. Do you understand me, church? Like
that's a problem. That is a problem. And the other thing is, like, I've felt more love from non-Christians than Christians, like in terms of like genuinely showing up and supporting. And granted, like maybe some of what people were doing last year was performative, but like going to like protests and stuff like that, I was surrounded with like the LGBTQIA plus community. And like, people that I just knew, like, I'm like, I know you're not a Christian, but you showed up, you were here. You weren't all caught up in politics and about like what your preferred party was saying. It was like, I'm showing up for these people. And there was a true sense of like, at least in that moment, there was a sense of repentance about like, oh my gosh, like I'm awakened to like what is really happening in this country with Black people and how white supremacy is a problem. Like there was a sense of repentance. All I've seen from the church is pride, excuses, minimizing, but what about all this other mess? But not simply coming alongside and comforting. The Bible says we're supposed to be weeping with those who weep and mourn with those who mourn. You know what I mean? And I did not see that. And that was like a huge problem for me. And the fact that like, yeah, people would rather start hooting and hollering about two men loving each other, or two women loving each other, or that being displayed on TV. They're more concerned about that than how their Black brother or sister in their pew feels uncomfortable with, or like deeply saddened or traumatized by everything that's going on. I'm like, this is not Christianity. I don't know what this is.
Not only will they, which is disgusting, and I don't know if you've seen this. I saw this from my old church. Not only will they be disgusted by the display of two men kissing or two women kissing, but then revel and celebrate like when we have trigger warning, the shooting in Orlando at the gay club. They're like, oh, that was God's judgment. I'm like, no. Take your mouth off of Jesus for a second and realize what we are doing when we're saying stuff like this. Like I said, this is stuff that I've had to deconstruct from myself because, we already know about the inherent like homophobia in our own community being Black. Becoming a Christian on top of that, I was like, oh, hell no. This is too much. You know what I'm saying? And so it's with that. And then like, it's like, okay, so I recognize if I don't look like you, act like you, I'll just say sleep like you, in any of these areas, there's really no room for me.
It's very
and where this is kind of like for you, I understand what you say with this. Why the hell would I want anything to do with your Jesus? If that, you know what I'm saying, that is what we're clinging on to. Can you talk to me about, when we're talking specifically about, like, I would say like last year, and yes, we could talk about the performative crap too. But talk to me last year, like, you know, last year, and well, for the last, I would say like 2 years, we've been going through this Panera bread, Pandemi Lovato pandemic. It's been going off, and then like people are tripping because people are like, I think people are like making out with strangers in the streets with this new iPhone Delta coming out. It's pretty disgusting because numbers are spiking again. I'm like, yo, I'm not going back on lockdown. Do you understand me? So we've had the pandemic we're dealing with. Us as a people of color, us as descendants of African slaves, have been dealing with this clandemic our whole lives. You know what I'm saying?
Lord.
Yes. Talk to me about what this time period was for you. So we had Ahmaud Arbery, the video of Ahmaud Arbery surface. Breonna Taylor happened. And then, well, Breonna Taylor being murdered. I want to, because she was murdered. Well, let's not forget what happened to that life there. And then George Floyd was murdered as well. Talk to me about what that period in time was like for you, knowing we could not go to churches, knowing we couldn't really be around people, at least at this time. What was that time period like for you?
Yeah, it was very eye-opening and disheartening. I would say last year, like if I had to give a word to last year, it would be lament. I lamented at how the church was responding to the pandemic in general, but to these different things that were happening, to these Black people being murdered for no reason. It was just very disheartening. And I'm hearing these things from people that I've looked up to for so long for various reasons, whether they were like missions leaders, mentors, people that like fostered kids, like people that I feel like, okay, they're doing good things or whatever, speaking on things in such an unloving way. I was like, this is lamentable. And then even if people were not, the problem is you had all the wrong people speaking up, and there's other people that also agree with them but aren't saying anything. And then you have the people that don't agree with that, but they're not saying anything. And then you have a very, very, very small number of like white Christians that might say a thing or two, like this isn't right. And like, but I feel like there was a time where like that said a little something, but they probably got some pushback from their family, friends, churches. And so they like didn't really say anything else. And so what you have now is like these very loud voices of systemic racism isn't real. These people, if they do what they're supposed to, they're not going to get shot, blah, blah, blah. And that was like the prevailing voice that I heard. And then everything else was just silence. And that was just very, very disheartening. And like, you know, anybody, no matter what race, color, whatever you are, the pandemic was hard, right? Is hard because we're still in it. But that plus, you know, if you're Black in general, you feel the weight. But then if you're a Black Christian, that's like a triple weight that you're under.
Yeah.
You know? Pandemic, Christian, Black, all those things together. It's like we've been dealing with a lot. So the fact that we're like holding it together and not out here just shooting people in the streets, you know what I mean, burning stuff down, like to a greater degree is like truly God keeping us and them.
So one thing I'm curious about is like, what was that like for you mentally? I know me. There was a point for me where I think it was like after I found out why the police was called for George Floyd, I was like, this is all for fucking 20. I was cussing up bad. I was like, this is all for a $20 bill. Are you kidding me? Like when I say like I was here, I was absolutely no good. Mentally, was that what was that like for you? When we're because you said like you said it right there. You said to be Black Christian, but then also for you, you're a Black woman in America. You're the double minority off rip. What was that like for you during this time period, like mentally and spiritually?
Yeah. It was just very heavy. Just very, very heavy. And in the moment, like coming from like a psychology background, like I'm like, I know I'm like dealing with trauma right now. Like this is like actively experiencing trauma. And just feeling just lament, like a deep disappointment, a deep sadness about where we are. Yeah, I would just say I was just really just sad and very disappointed, like a deep spiritual disappointment, like a crying out, like, what are we doing? And it was definitely from a place of like love and compassion and just like we can do better, like wanting to genuinely understand and wanting to genuinely have conversations. And then it kind of evolved into like where I feel like now I'm like disillusioned and extremely frustrated and I'm not being so like nice about my approach anymore because I feel like even when I did that, it was met with just nasty. So I'm just like, you know what? It doesn't matter if I say it the gentlest way possible. And I was really in a place of like trying to be deeply kind and understanding but also like lamenting internally and being just sad. I think also like there's a little bit of like shock. And so it's hard for me to really, and I think I'm still coming out of that shock, right? So like it's hard for me to really pinpoint how I felt because in that moment, I think I was just surviving. If I'm being honest, I was just like surviving, just trying to get through. So like maybe ask me again in 5 years and then I'll be able to have like better words for it all. But yeah, I think just stunned is really a good word.
It's that, and then it's like and I get what you mean by you're gonna have to ask me in 5 years, and then even in 5 years you may not even have an answer because you're like hold that thought about that question you just asked me. Something else just happened. No cap. Like something else just happened that has afflicted my community. I have to go process that now. So it's that season of, and I've talked about this. I spent a whole podcast talking about lamenting. It's that season of always having to lament, always having to process, always having to grieve, but not allowing any one of those three paralyze you to the point that you just cannot operate. Because then it becomes stigmatizing. You end up being otherized opposed to humanized. And people don't even want to hear it. When people because you can sum up how you're feeling with one word, sometimes 1,000s, and still neither one of those would be enough.
Yeah, especially when people are committed to not understanding you.
Facts. Once again,
some people don't want to have actual conversation.
Back to they will seek nuance if they care to, and whoever it is, absolutely. That I think the next thing I'm curious about is so. George Floyd, he's killed on Memorial Day, and about like a week goes by. I would say about a week goes by, and there's starting to be protests and stuff like that. Did you end up hitting the streets at all? If you did, what was that like for you? If you didn't, what was it like for you on the sidelines? But what was that time period like for you hitting the streets or seeing this period in time when people were hitting the streets?
Yeah. As you're saying that, like, it was just like, I want to be a part of this. And I also like wanted to put out to the world that like protesting does not equal riots. Like people are out here, things are happening, we're speaking up, but doesn't necessarily mean that we're out here destroying property or whatever. So I live in Baltimore, so I went to one, in June, and that was like not religiously affiliated. It was some group that did it, and like it was swarms of people. Most of them were white and some Asian and some Black people as well. And, we had our signs and everything. It was just a very like humbling moment of just feeling just this overwhelming sense of like love and support in a way that I've never felt before. Like, wow, these people truly, because I think it was a very visceral moment. Like people's emotions were just very raw. And I feel like people were genuinely in a place of, these people matter, Black people matter. We're going to speak up about this, and just feeling that love and that support in a very real way was a way that I've never felt before, not even in church. You know what I mean? Like these people are genuinely here for us. And that's what was hard, like seeing that these non-Christians are here declaring that your life matters. That was super beautiful. I also went to one that was in DC, and it was co-hosted by, I don't know if you heard of the AND campaign.
Yep.
Yeah. So like it was the AND campaign in this other church. And the pastor is, oh my gosh, is a very prominent Black pastor in DC. And I can't think of his name. Is it Tabidi?
Is he, was he like a heavy set Black dude by chance? Yes, no?
No, he's not heavy. I think he's tall. I'm terrible with names. I probably said somebody else's name, but it's a prominent Black pastor. I feel like you won't have to dig too far, but he's in DC. He has a church and everything. And I think his church was a part of like hosting it. So there were a lot of Black people, but also a lot of white people. And it was just cool to see, Christians there. And I'm like, oh, great. It's great to see white Christians out here also supporting and marching along with us. So I went with a group of friends to that. And I think it was really beautiful to see the residents of DC watching these people march past them and saying, like, you matter, you're loved, God loves you, you're made in the image of God. Like these beautiful, it's beautiful imagery, these beautiful signs that are saying that you matter. And it was just like such a beautiful moment. Like even now, like I'm getting chills just thinking about like how beautiful it was. And we just marched from like right at the line, like Maryland, DC line, I think down East Capitol all the way to, I think we marched all the way to the Capitol. And it was just a really cool moment. I just felt a tremendous, unbelievable amount of like love and support and like, yes, I was just so excited. So
I'm curious because I ask everybody else. So when I hit the streets last year, mind you, even this is still kind of weird to me. I'm socially awkward. Like I still don't really like people. This is the most I've ever talked to people in my life. I just, I'm like, I love Jesus. People working on it. You know what I'm saying? People are fickle. But I stepped into my calling, I would say last year, where I went to a protest just like you. And I was only out there with the intent of, look, I heard they needed a speaker and a microphone. I heard they got no sound. And then it went from that to God like tapped me on my shoulder, like, you're gonna say some things, right? I'm like, excuse me? I don't like talking in front of, I'm like, nigga, I don't like talking in front of you. I talk to God like I talk to my homies. I'm sorry. I don't know about y'all.
I do too, because I mean, I feel like God already knows what we're thinking anyway. So just be real with him.
Yeah. So I was like, what the fuck? What do you mean? I'm like, I ain't doing that. And sure enough, like I felt like the way that I explained this to people is like I blacked out in a sense. Like it was definitely me and my spirit because I'm not that profound, at least. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And so God started using me as his shofar and just speaking to people, speaking peace onto people, speaking of racial reconciliation, speaking on love, speaking on, looking at somebody and just letting them know I see you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's important. And did God use you like that? Did you end up saying some things, my sister? Not just chance. I'm talking like was it a couple of moments where you had to be like, my mouth is open, so y'all's need to be shut? Can you speak to that at all, where God used you to utter his message or just speak in general in these spaces?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like there have been times where God definitely has used my actual mouth in the moment to speak something, for sure. Over the past year, though, I feel like he's definitely been the one compelling me to share on Facebook. I was like speaking, like just posting things, but like I'm like, I know God is like using me because I used to not be a very good writer and I'm still not that great, but I feel like God is like giving me the words and like the thoughts and like connecting scripture to like what's happening and all those sorts of things. Like I know that this is like God wanting me to say these things right now, even if, you know, I don't get a lot of interactions or people don't have positive things to say. I'm like, I know I got to say it anyway. So that's what Facebook had been. Um, and now TikTok, I'm like sharing things that I feel like are like super, yeah.
Okay. So you that's good. So we're all right. So we're fast forwarding, past the summer. We're getting past like the performative crap. Um, I I don't know if you saw this. I saw a couple because we in the same state. So I know you probably saw
Mhm.
these same white women, the white women with the black fists on their face. I'm like, that's borderline blackface and just a little excessive. What the hell are you doing?
Right.
We saw you know what I'm saying? Like we've seen at the same time, we've seen whiteness assert itself. And I think that we hold on, let's stop there for a second. Because I think this is important because I don't think people get this. And I think how you articulated this in one of your TikToks, especially being a disciple of Christ, I think it is important. When we as ADOS, as American descendants of slaves, speak on being pro-black doesn't mean anti-white, but we are
Exactly.
not about whiteness.
Right.
What is double minority black woman, you know what I'm saying, my sister in this space with me? How can we get people, or if you could make it plain for them, what is the difference between whiteness and white people? Can you
Right.
break that down for me?
Yeah. So whiteness is this idea that um white culture and everything that entails is the standard by which everything is judged against. And it's this pervasive thing that exists, especially in our culture, and that everyone is supposed to adhere to. And we don't speak about this, but this is what happens, right? Um, there was a time, for example, when the Irish and Irish and Italians and probably Greeks as well were not white enough, and so like they've in a sense have had to like adhere to whiteness in order to be acceptable. So it's like it's this idea that like what white people represent as far as like cultural rules and things like that and norms, those are the standards. So like this is like you said, it's not speaking out against white people or about white culture, but it's just saying that like this should not be the standard by which everything else is judged.
Yeah, and then not even that. I think like, and maybe you could speak of this. It's just like people don't want to separate the two. Like it's okay for people to say, like, and this has probably been you. I don't know if you can speak this. I tell people I don't bang with white supremacy. They hear I hate white people. I'm
That's
like, no, that's
problematic in
not.
itself. Like,
I'm
well,
like,
why
that's
did
not what
you?
I said. Because when you said BLM, you said FBLM. I can't actually. I'm not allowed to. Is the better thing to say. You say FBLM. I can't say. Oh, so you mean F my life? No, just the organization. It's like, well, what about the sentiment? No, I don't like that either. Because what about my life, nigga? Nobody said your life didn't matter. We knew that already. We
Right.
knew that already.
That's
It goes
very
back to the nuance part. But I think
right.
like a lot of times when it comes to as disciples, and I feel like this is that when we're talking about on the journey for people that are not only deconstructing but decolonizing their faith, they need to understand that you cannot have. I feel like it's just, especially historically, whiteness in religion. No, we can't. Whiteness and spirituality. No, we can't do that. Can you speak a little bit when, especially as a black woman who is a disciple of Christ? How do you reconcile that with people? And when you tell people, I like to say, like when I talk to people about being a Christian, I'm like, the gospel was not found in the Vatican, it's African. That's something
Mhm.
that I always tell people. How do you reconcile that while doing this work, I would say having these conversations, it's almost as if, and I know that they're not mutually exclusive, you have to reconcile your blackness with Christians, but you have to reconcile your Christian with blackness, meaning like you're black, like our people in a sense. How is that for you navigating in like, and when I say like these two different worlds, but it's come together for yourself as an individual, being a black woman who is a Christian, but having to reconcile with both of those camps?
Yeah. I think just like for Christians, it's pointing to scripture and showing that like this is the standard. Whiteness is not the standard. And I'm able to see that a bit more clearly because I'm not white, right? So again, showing that scripture is the standard, not, and God and Jesus is the standard, not whiteness. But then with Black people, it would be, I completely lost my train of thought. This is going to happen a lot. Like with Black people, it's like, but Jesus was not rocking with what a lot of white supremacists that claim to be Christians are saying. Like he absolutely would be like he did, flipping tables over and things like that. And so like I like to show that side of what scripture teaches and like that side of who Jesus is and just how he's so uniquely different when compared to the way Christianity presents itself in America. And also like getting people to understand that like everything that you've experienced about Christianity has been in the context of America. Like a lot of people have not been able to be exposed to it outside of that. And so it's like a lot of things that people think that they don't like about Christianity or about Jesus are really more of a reflection of the culture they've grown up in rather than who Jesus actually is.
Yep. And like, you know, that's why I tell people spirituality is not geographic. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's why even like I used to tell people, oh, I just feel closer to God when I'm just in church. It's like next to the devil, because once again, the devil goes to church too. What are we talking about? And and then not even that, we're talking about like I just tell people, I'm like, look, I'm not saying God is calling this on my life, but if God was like, America's gonna burn tomorrow, I'm still God and I'm still gonna be good. I gotta be like, all right, okay, and I gotta eat that. I mean, it's gonna be awkward. I don't know where I'm gonna get gas from because you know, America's going up in flames. But I tell people like, God is not so much concerned about sustaining and preserving your nationalistic liberties than he is you loving your neighbor. You know what I'm saying? That go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like people, their American identity is so married to their Christian identity that I don't know if they realize that they are not the same thing, and that like there will not be an American flag waved in paradise. Like that will not be.
You sure? You sure? Next, but you won't see an eagle chilling on the cross, like
right. But some people like it's so intermingled in their minds, they don't even realize that like, yo, you, excuse me, have taken on an identity that is not even aligned with scripture. And one day, you know, America, like every empire has its rise and fall. America has had its rise and it's going to fall at some point. And I think people are really going to struggle because they don't realize, and they're not going to realize until it's too late, how much of their identity was in being whatever they view America as.
Yeah, and then not even that.
People that are not married to that are going to be okay with like, you know, I miss my country and I miss certain aspects of it. Like I think I would feel that way, but like the things that people claim America represents and the things that they like love about America are one day going to be gone. And I completely lost my train of thought again. Like they want to hold on to these things, but they're going to realize like the things that they held on so tightly to are not things of God, but it was just like, that was just this country that you're a part of.
It's what it is you think you need your nationalism to equip you to be a better Christian, but that's going to be one of the first things.
Away.
It's one of the first things that God has asked of us. And that's where I think this will lead me into my next question. When we're talking about deconstructing, that was one of the first things that he asked of us when he said, like Galatians 2:20, die daily, not only to your flesh, but your dreams, your aspirations, all these things that just ain't really got nothing to do with him. Like, you don't need to be a good American to be a good disciple of Christ. Shocker.
In fact, sometimes like your American identity is in direct conflict with what it is to be Christian.
Facts. Mm-hmm. And but what they do is, though, they're very quick to glorify nationalism, but then demonize, and I'm not calling it, actually no, they'll demonize genealogy, meaning like you are allowed to take pride in being an American, but you are not allowed to take pride in being Black.
Oh my gosh. And like, how do they not? And I think what happens is, I was going to say, how do they not realize that? But the problem is there's this whole ideology around America, right? That people believe that God specifically chose America. America's this blessed country because it honors God. BS. That's not true. It never has. It never has been a Christian nation. But they have this idea of what America is. And so for them, like, this is God's country. God is pleased with us. And so it's easy, because they have that belief, it's easy for them to hold on to their American identity as a part of their Christianity. Because they have this very whitewashed sort of understanding of America.
It's that. And it goes back to this. I always keep this pinged up in my my files. And I always tell people, be careful saying that. So I always go to James Baldwin. American history is longer, larger, more various, more beautiful, and more terrible than anything anyone has ever said about it. And I tell people, like, be careful what you clinging on to, and you wanna literally hang your flag on, because what comes with this, especially when you align the gospel to it and call it the gospel, you actually do more detriment to our witness, like you alluded to earlier, and to the gospel than you do actually assisting it and making it more applicable to the people. Sorry that my dog's like tripping out over here. I think he I gave him a flea treatment. He's like rubbing his like back against my couch. I need him to stop it. But yeah, so one of the things I wanted to ask you about, and I think that this will be interesting, and I think everybody has done it in different ways. So as you mentioned, you are a deconstructing Christian. The word Christian's a dirty word for you. And maybe hopefully in your journey, and even if you don't, that's fine too. What does deconstructing look like to you? Like, what are things that you have already had to do, things you were looking forward to doing when it comes to your faith? And what advice could you offer somebody that thinks maybe I need to, or recognize that there needs to be some sense of deconstruction to reconstruct their faith?
Yeah. So that was a lot. So if I get off track, or like if I might need to ask,
hey, look, we in the space together. I'm gonna guide you the best I can. So okay. I got you.
Yeah. So I would say, like, I realized at the beginning of this year, I'm like, I'm deconstructing. Like, I was like, I want to take away the parts of my faith that have been more informed by like traditions and things that are not directly aligned with who God is, and really just ask questions and explore. And I know there have been questions that I've had for a while, and I never really considered myself deconstructing, because I think the process for me really started before then. But that was the moment where I officially realized, like, I'm dealing with spiritual religious trauma, and I'm deconstructing. And so I think, for one thing, the church I grew up in was kind of like word of faith. And so, like, even though they didn't do like multiple offerings and things like that, like the prosperity gospel type of thing, I deconstructed from prosperity gospel a long time ago. So that was already gone. But then over the last few years, I had like like questioned the idea of hell, you know, the infallibility of scripture, LGBTQ things, because I'm queer. I didn't say that earlier, but that was one of the things that I've had to like deconstruct. And so yeah, so it's been a hard journey, but I would say that it's one where you need community. And so like for me, deconstructing has looked like not going to church. Like I've gone to church like a handful of times, but like I felt like I needed to step back because church things, like I realized were triggering to me. So I stepped back. I feel like my relationship with God is good. Like I love the Lord. It's like the church that I have problems with, and not like a specific church. It's just like in general, like I just feel like there's issues. But that being said, I would say to someone that's deconstructing that you need community. And so you may not be able to get that from the church that you're a part of or we're a part of, but you need to find community. I'm going to plug the new evangelicals. They have a page where you can go on there and find people in your area that are also deconstructing. And I actually met someone on there, and it's been really great. We've talked a couple of times about like racial issues, especially in regards to the church. And so that's been really nice. And I hope that other people find community like that. And that's not the only friend I have, but I have other friends that are also deconstructing, which has been nice. But I think it can be a very lonely process. It can be a very lonely journey, and you need people with you. And not just the ones that are not deconstructing. Cause like, I think it's good to have a variety of voices in your life, but like, you don't want there to be just people that are kind of like, okay, like, when are you going to be done with this? Like, you need to come back to church. And like, the Lord is compelling me to tell you, blah, blah, blah. It's like, first of all, God didn't tell me that. And so, yeah, I would say community. Keep your relationship with God intact. I mean, I can't tell anyone what to do, but yeah, that's pretty much what I would say. Read books. I'm not gonna lie, I've been very lazy about my deconstruction. Some people have been like, I'm hitting this many books this year, blah, blah, blah. Literally, I've been like slowly working through The Color of Compromise over the past year. It's embarrassing, I know, but I've like picked it up and read it for a little bit, and then I stop, and it's like so good, and it's just like a lot. And like, but books like that, and Jesus and John Wayne, things like that have been really good for like gaining more understanding around Christianity as we understand it, especially in this context. Yeah, and just another one is Heavy Burdens by Bridget Eileen Rivera. She just released this book about how LGBTQ Christians experience harm in the church. All those things.
What are these names of these books? I'll plug them into the comment section just in case anybody's looking for them.
So don't know the title right offhand, but Jesus and John Wayne. Actually, you know what? I lied. But yeah, if you type in Jesus and John Wayne book, you'll find it. It's a female author, and then the other one was Jamar Tisby's The Compromise.
I can't believe you would suggest one of those. Oh, I'm so appalled. I'm
Wait,
so kidding.
Suggested what?
I was joking. I was attempting to be sexist, but I'm really not good at it. I was like, oh my God, you suggested a female author. I'm so kidding. It's an insider for my community, but continue.
But yeah, so Jesus and John Wayne, and then the other one I'm reading is, it's a long title, so let me get back to it. Okay. Excuse me. I don't know, I think I drank that tea too fast. Heavy Burdens has 7 ways LGBTQ Christians. So it's Heavy Burdens, 7 ways LGBTQ Christians experience harm in the church by Bridget Eileen Rivera. That book just was released. It's really super helpful in my opinion. I'm going to see if I can show you the cover.
Plugging them all in the comment section, my sister. I got you.
Yes, if you see it, like, just if you're a visual person like me, this is what it looks like. So that's Heavy Burdens. And it's just, yeah. I don't have all the books, but like I have a ever growing list of I have an
Shut up,
ever
eh?
growing list of,
That's one of the people in my community. Yeah, we this is a running joke. Yes.
it's an ever growing. I have an ever growing list of books like that I need to read that I have not. So, but those are the three that I think could be helpful for
All
people
right.
like deconstructing.
All right. And speaking of
And I think
deconstruct,
everyone needs to deconstruct in some way, shape, or form.
and
If
not
you're
even
just
just
accepting things
not even
as
just
is, that's
not even just spirituality and religion, but like everything. I mean, like me as a not only as a man, but as a black man in this society, I've had to deconstruct what that looks like, what that is like.
Mm.
It was hard. A lot of crying. I'll talk to you about this offline because it's not the internet's business. But but I've had to like sit there and be like, you know what? I gotta learn how to be okay with crying in front of people,
Yes.
allowing people to love
Yes.
me and not feel
I
guilty about it.
Yes, we love seeing men that are emotionally healthy, that are doing therapy and doing all those things.
Oh, I cry, girl. Let me tell you something. On my podcast, I spent I think 3 hours of my podcast just.
I think that's
Yeah,
how people need to see that that is normal, that is healthy. Yes. Not on Beyonce's internet.
yeah. The judgment is like completely unnecessary with her sometimes. Yeah. We can fight. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about, especially when we're talking about deconstruction, we got something cooking. We got something cooked up in the month to come. Once again, I was very pleased to find out not only you were gonna be a part of this with me, considering that like it was like it's funny how like God kind of like brought us together, like how we end up like getting to like at least engage one another. But we have something together that not just you and me specifically, but like other creatives, different content creators through TikTok. It seems like we all everybody believes we all belong to the same church, evidently. And I just found out you live in the same state as me. So I was just like, I don't think this cult has Wi-Fi, guys. Relax. But talk a little bit about not only what so decon is what we're talking about, guys. We're talking about decon 2021, where we're talking about decolonizing, deconstruction, all of these things as far as just looking at God and looking at what it means to be a Christian or a disciple through a different lens. But talk a little bit about it, my sister Jai. What exactly is decon to you? How did you how was it that you became a part of it? And what is your role and what are you going to be doing at decon this year?
Yeah, so I believe it was Tori Bay, an Asian American deconstruction TikToker that is part of the team that is putting this together. She reached out to me and was like, "Hey, we're doing this thing. Are you interested?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I'll be doing a session. I think it's from 4 to 4:50 on December 11th. About racial reconciliation. I'm not going to give too many details, obviously, because I would love for you guys to come. But it's just going to be about racial reconciliation. And I think it's going to be about deconstructing the idea of racial reconciliation. And it may not be in the ways that people expect. But yeah, just the concept of racial reconciliation and what that should look like.
Yeah, I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I also have a breakout room as well. I have no idea what I'm doing mine about. I know Tori as well. I adopted her off of the internet. Just like by the way, you're adopted, by the way, in case you didn't know. Not only because I adopt people off the internet, but we're practically neighbors. So like, yeah, you're adopted. But so Tori hit me up. She butt crack of dawn. Like I still had crust in my eyes. She called. She's like, hey Casper, what are you doing on like this day? Would you like to do this? Are you this, that, and the third? I'm like,
that's her voice.
Yeah. She was just like, oh great, that's That's good. That's good. That's amazing. I'll tell Andrew and so to, and boom. I thought one thing that I wanted to talk about because I thought this was funny. I don't know how much you did for it. I got a little bit of a kick of it just interacting with people in the comment section, but trying to keep this like hush hush. Because when did you get invited or asked to participate for you in decon?
It was a few weeks. Maybe it was a month ago. I don't remember. I didn't really say anything until last week. Like once I was on the tail end of everyone else saying like, oh, so there's this big thing that's going on in December. I didn't really say anything about it until probably the end of last week on my TikTok. But before that, I think I had known for a few weeks. So yeah.
I think the funny thing was going into everybody else's comment section. So I made one TikTok, but like people be like, hey, Casper, you know about this? I'm like, I ain't gonna snitch. I ain't no snitch. I need to talk to my lawyer. I need to talk to my lawyer first. I came at somebody while they DM'd me. What is this that everybody keeps tagging me? I said, I ain't Lil Kim. I mean, I am Lil Kim. I don't snitch. Right. Mind your business. Like, why you all like all up in the Kool-Aid and don't know what flavor it is? Back up. Like it was funny to say the least. It was cool, and it was also nice to just have something like it was cool to just have something that's so different. And shout out to Tori, shout out to Andrew, shout out to John Doe, shout out to Micah, shout out to everybody, Rev Raya, so many other people.
I'm so excited.
I'm super excited because like there's so many people that I did not know about until like I saw like the list of people that are involved, and I was like, oh, I gotta get familiar with their content. Obviously that now I knew Crumb. I don't know if you know who Jay Crumb is.
Oh, yes, I love his work. Yes.
I've had Crumb. I actually met Jay Crumb, through TikTok, but I had him on my podcast twice. And so like, you know, Crumb's like a big brother of mine and everything. We've every once in a while we like, you know, he's married, so I'm over here single and alone, but single, alone, and ashy. Not single, single as in I'm not married, but still ashy, alone, and I live with my dog. But yeah, man, this is I'm curious. I don't have any idea, and I'm trying not to have any expectations to what this is gonna be like, because I'm one of those people. I don't like being excited about things, because then it ends up getting ruined because it doesn't end up turning out like how it's supposed to go. But I'm genuinely like, I don't know what's gonna happen, and I think that's what's got me organically excited about it. But it's gonna be dope. I need to figure out. I did what she say? No, I mean I'm single. Like in the eyes of the government, I am anyway. I'm not dealing with you right now.
Tax speaking, in the eyes of the IRS.
Yes, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? I'm single, ashy. I live with my dog. His name is Dash. Okay. And yes, like, oh my gosh. But yeah, I'm excited for what is to come of this. I hope that not only this will like kind of open the door for other people to like engage one another. Because like I said, it gets kind of weird when you're like, oh, I've been following them for 6 months. I don't know who they are. It's like, why don't y'all talk to each other? We're humans. I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
I'll put you in timeout. Matter of fact, I'm feeling bold. You're in timeout for 5 minutes. But yeah. Other than that, we're actually heading towards. Let me take her out of timeout. She's gonna be upset. We're actually headed towards the end of our conversation today, but would you like to engage me with quick hitters? Which is usually where I ask, like, you know, either or, like, yes or no, would you rather this or this? They're not really super intense like everything else. I mean, they might be intense, I don't know, but are you ready to engage with the quick hitters for me, my sister?
I can try.
Your eyes got real big. Oh gosh. Okay. Those are those.
I hope that was not my Wi-Fi. Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay.
I said Pringles or Doritos.
Oh. Doritos.
So you just like having air in your bag of chips? Is that what it is? Is that?
That's a good point. I think I was thinking about flavor.
I mean, I like quantity too. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of quantity is nice. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
That's true. But like quality over quantity, though, But I can get down with Pringles. Like I had some the sour cream and onion ones recently. I was like, why did I not know these were so good? Like I do not keep snacks in the house because I will eat them. But I will say the Pringles sour cream and onion be hitting.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember. I mean, you're like a little. How old are you again? I know you're like in your early 30s. How old are you again?
31.
31? Yeah, so you remember the pizza Pringles, right?
Oh yeah, I forget how they taste, but I remember.
Oh, you gotta brushing up, girl. They was smacking. They was oof. They was good. They was good.
Yeah.
I felt the Lord eating the chips. These are the Lord's chips. You know what I'm saying? Skittles or Starburst?
Ooh, Starburst.
Alrighty.
Starburst.
Starburst. Which one though? Is it the red Starburst or the pink Starburst?
Honestly, I can go either way. I am not picky. I will eat the orange and the yellow ones as well. I love the tropical ones. I love them all. And I just like that they're chewy. I just think they're great.
Awesome.
Like
awesome.
Better.
Okay. Pharrell or Kanye?
Who? As far as like consistency over time, I would say Pharrell, but in terms of like whose music I genuinely enjoyed, like I would say I really always appreciated Kanye's, like from the early days.
Yeah.
I can't speak to too much else about him, but
slavery being a choice, all that other I'm like,
yeah, you can miss me with that, but
nigga, that ain't it. Like
as an artist, yeah.
This one, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna save that one. I'll get in trouble about that one later. Okay. If we're talking, and I found out that there's the line in between the two is a lot more thinner than I thought. Pumpkin pie or sweet potato pie?
Sweet potato all day.
Okay,
although I do like pumpkin flavored things. Like I love pumpkin spice lattes and pumpkin rolls and like pumpkin desserts. What'd you say?
I'm so disappointed in you.
I'm sorry. I mean, but I am team sweet potato pie. Like if it's between pumpkin pie or sweet potato pie. Wait, are you saying that you're pro pumpkin pie?
Not really. Like
I
don't pumpkin pie.
I mean, it's good, but like it doesn't leave you feeling full and warm and loved.
You don't feel loved at all when you eat pumpkin pie.
I feel like I'm eating like a holographic version of sweet potato pie. Like it doesn't have the heaviness, right? Because pumpkin is like, it's like a lot of water, whereas like sweet potato has some substance. Like you can.
You said holographic? I've never heard that before. It's like it doesn't exist. It's a lot of empty calories.
I mean, it just be lacking. Like I'm like, okay, but I don't feel full now. Like I need to go eat something else because it just did not fill me up.
That is
which I guess some people don't want to feel full afterwards, but for me, I'm just like, okay,
That's wild. Hey yo. Hey yo, that's great. Genuine or Tyrese?
Lord. Okay. First let me say that like I think I said this earlier, but I'm good with like, oh, I remember that song kind of, but like I'm not great with like, oh yeah, I know that this song belongs to this person. So like
hold on. Okay, so this is Genuine. I'll play a little bit. Hold on while this ad goes by. But so there's Genuine and then there's Tyrese. You know any of Tyrese's songs?
Oh gosh. I feel like I do, but I cannot like think. Like there are certain artists that like stand out more to me than others. So I'm like, Also I grew up in a very like Christian house. And so like, yes, I listen to R&B, but like I'm not as fluent. But I definitely like there are certain like streams of R&B and like I know this song, I know this song, I know this song. Oh yeah, I know this.
It's genuine.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then there's Tyrese's. I'm trying to remember what why you gotta. I think that's what it is.
Like I know what they look like. Well, I can see Tyrese in my head. I can't.
Well, that's because he was crying on the internet. Everybody talked about my boy Drake was soft. I'm like, look, see, dark skinned people get emotional. Look at this nigga. Like, what are you talking? What are you talking?
The whole dark skin, light skin thing, man.
Yeah, I don't. It's so dumb. It's so doggone stupid. Tyrese.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna turn it off so they don't flag this video. But yeah, if you had to pick between the two.
Oh, I guess I'll go with Tyrese.
All right. I accept those answers because you said you grew up a good Christian girl. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you hold that for now, but I'm gonna need you to brush up a little bit while you deconstructing. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you just a little bit because forget the fact that you a Christian. I will put you in a box as a black woman for a second and be like, I'm gonna need you to brush up on some Genuine and some Tyrese, just a little bit.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's all right. I mean, but here's the thing though, you can put me in a box on certain things because people can fight me. We'll talk about this after we go offline. Let's see. Adidas or Nikes?
Man, I'm gonna say Adidas because sometimes Nike does not work out with my feet.
Okay, alrighty. Okay. Solange or her? Don't tell me you too Christian. No. Okay, all right, okay.
And let me just say, like, I do know artists. Like, I feel like I don't know, like Lauryn Hill, SWV, Destiny's Child.
All right.
I mean, I know a lot of songs. It's just like there's certain ones that for some reason, like I haven't seen that movie or I don't know that artist super well. But like Lauryn Hill is like one of my favorites. Like I can rap a lot of the doo-wop like rap. Like I know that pretty much by heart. Like I know a lot
TikTok. Of like, you do a TikTok to that or something.
Like if you did like one of those R&B challenges, I'd probably do okay with them. Like because I'll know the songs well enough to be able to sing along.
That's funny. All right. I'm gonna get in some trouble for this one. Did I say this one? I'm trying to think what it was. Oh, Jasmine Sullivan or Keisha Cole?
Okay. To go back to the whole Christian thing.
Oh my gosh, black woman.
Okay, I know. But this was an era of my life, and I kind of regret this, where like I was in a very like super legalistic college ministry, and so like for a long stretch of time, I did not listen to a lot of like popular music, and so like I know these names, and I probably heard some of these songs, and but I couldn't like tell you like 5 different songs by these people. But I know Keisha Cole and Jasmine Sullivan when I hear them or when I see Keisha Cole, like I'm like, I know who that is.
Okay.
That being said, I feel like I'd probably go with Jasmine Sullivan just because of her vibe.
All right. Okay.
I promise I'm black. I promise.
No, I'm not. Look.
Like if I pull up my okay.
I promise you, towards the end, you gonna be shook, and not because of you, because of somebody else. I promise you. Don't feel bad at all.
Okay.
Okay. You know a little bit of hip hop. My sister.
Not as much as I feel like I should.
Okay, so I'll do this. I did this for somebody else yesterday. I'll do this for you today. Top 5 R&B singers, or R&B
Oh,
singers.
okay.
Give
I
me your
can do
top
that. I
five.
can do R&B
Give
singers.
me your
Yeah.
top five R&B. Doesn't not in specific order, but 1 through 5. Go ahead. What you got for me?
I feel like Lauryn Hill is more hip hop, but so
Sister can blow though. So go ahead. It's all right.
Yeah. So gosh, you really put me on the spot. It doesn't have to be female, right?
No,
Male.
not at all. Okay. You good?
And also I like a lot of like old school stuff like Stevie Wonder and stuff like that. But I would say Lauryn Hill for sure. I'm trying to like think in terms of like this is so hard. And plus I'm always like, okay, is this actually R&B or is this more hip hop or is this more pop? Gosh, let me look at my list of artists. I feel like, okay, like when I think about certain songs of certain people, I would say like maybe Donnell Jones, Boyz II Men from like way back when.
You're really not that much older than me, but okay, continue.
Yeah. I mean, no, because like if depending on how much age difference there is, there'll be things I'll say and you'll be like, yeah, I don't remember that. But yeah, so Boyz II Men, Babyface, Casey and JoJo. I don't even know how many I'm up to now.
I think you're at 4, and I know a little bit of Casey and JoJo too. Yeah, like I said, you're not that much older than me. I got you on that.
Like Music Soul Child, Glenn Lewis, Donnell Jones. I think I already said him. There's probably other ones. I'm like later. I'll be like, oh man, there was such and such. But I feel like because I'm on the spot right now, I'm like, I can't. But I promise you, like I love R&B. Like it's probably like my favorite genre.
Okay, alrighty then. I think I'm gonna pick at you a little bit. Okay, this is where I've been getting in trouble apparently a lot lately. I'll ask you that one towards the end. 5 people you can have dinner with, dead or alive. Who's at this dinner table with you?
Definitely Harriet Tubman. Jesus. So that's 2. Michelle Obama. That's 3.
Barack's wife. Yes, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's funny that, like, can I say, after his presidency, people refer to him as Michelle's husband, which is hilarious. And they do, right. And I'm like, she is out here getting it though.
She really is. I love her. I really appreciated her book, and for me, it wasn't like just fangirling because she's like the first Black female first lady or whatever, but like I really appreciated her authorship of Becoming. I thought it was a really good read. So that was 3. Who else would I want to have dinner with? Gosh, man, you really are putting me on the spot. This is really hard. Please don't judge me too hard because like I don't do well with tests. Like being like
this isn't a test. This is all you.
But it is though. I'm being asked a question. I'm expected to give a response, and like people might be judging me based off the responses I give.
Oh man, they got something bad to say about you. I'll kick them in the neck. You know what I'm saying? These hands are bisexual. I don't discriminate. They're rated E for everyone. Everybody can get it. Like
they're bisexual. Yeah. Who else? This is really hard. I'm up to 3. God, why is this so hard?
Yeah, you got 3, my sister.
All right. Who else would I want to talk to? I feel like probably someone from like civil rights. So like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'll just throw out maybe like someone like Thurgood Marshall, or I would love to hear from like the nameless, faceless Black people that maybe decided to jump off the boat on the way over to America. Like, what was going through their head? Like, why? Like, did they fully understand like what was happening? So that would be what, 4 or 5. Maybe like Thurgood Marshall, someone like that. Oh, and maybe James Baldwin. I think that he'd be a great person to talk with, because like I've recently been exposed to his work and I'm like, man, I need to go and read his stuff because he is truly a prophet. Like that man, and him being like Black and queer, I'm like, I feel you, and feeling like you don't fit in certain spaces. Yeah, so
yeah, the depth to that, brother. I tell people I'm a mixture between Jesus, John Basquiat, and James Baldwin. So yeah, I not that I belong to the LGBTQIA plus community, but like as far as like the depth that he went through, as far as like getting people to understand like metaphors and like the different comparisons of just life and the experience, but then the emotional intelligence he had, I always admired about him. So yeah, I was reading I should have known I had depression early though, because I was reading Baldwin by like 10 for some odd reason. I don't know, something was up with me.
What's the other guy you mentioned? John who? Who was the other guy you mentioned? John Basquiat. What was his name?
John Basquiat. He's an artist. I'll send you a couple of things of his work. He does like you probably seen like the little dinosaur, the crown before. Yeah, Basquiat is pretty dope. Another question I have. Missy Elliott. You ready for this? Missy Elliott or Janet Jackson?
Oh man, how are you gonna make me pick between those two? I feel like I'm more familiar with like Missy Elliott, and like that's more from my era, or like from my age during that era. So yeah, Missy.
Going with Missy. All right. And my last question is, if you could see anybody on the Kid Casper podcast, who would that be? But your answer has to be somebody that you can help get on here, essentially.
Yeah, I think let's see. I just have to say one person.
Oh yeah, you can give me, if you have more, that's fine too.
I'm not even sure like who all you've had on here, but I feel like Donnell Wrights is really good, even though he doesn't consider himself a Christian anymore. I greatly respect him, and he has like a lot of great things to say.
I've had straight, like, not to say it in the stigmatizing, demonizing way, I've had Muslims on here. And I have Muslim partners in my life. Like, I'll talk to anybody. I'll talk to your mailman, really. So whoever, you said Donnell Wrights, you said?
Yeah. Or Donnell. I don't know how to say his name, but it's like Donnell. I can send it to you later. But he's pretty prominent on the deconstruction TikTok. I mean, if you need suggestions, I can probably give better answers later. Like as I've had time to think about it.
That's fine. No biggie. First off, sister, thank you. This was dope. I don't normally do interviews at this time, especially on Saturdays. But this was great. I still laugh at the fact, I was trying not to laugh even as you were talking. I'm like, man, I really thought the shorty was in like California or something like that. I don't know why that was. But I'm happy that we finally got together. And I'm happy to, I'm gonna say this, because I say this to the ones I like. You're welcome back here anytime if you'd like to engage in dialogue.
I'm glad I made it.
If you have any future projects or anything you're working on, you want to like come up here and talk about it, that's, let me know. We could share this space together. That's never an issue. And anything I have coming up, I'll reach out to you if I have in mind. That won't be an issue. But yeah, if you have anything that you are working on that is in the works to come, and you would like to plug, this is your elevator's pitch again. Tell us about what you got working on, or you want things that you would like for us to be on the lookout for.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard for me to say specifically, but definitely, I really appreciate that. I don't know what the jacket is, but I could use one because it's kind of cold right now. I'm just joking. But yeah, so yeah, Decon 2021 is coming up, so I'll be there. I'm still just reading and learning and things like that. Definitely TikTok is a good place to find me. Like I said, I am on Twitter. I'm trying to get more into it, but I have a very small following because I never really like got on it that much. But I feel like I have a lot of things that I'm going to want to say soon in like different forms, whether it be writing, speaking, whatever. So hopefully you guys will see more from me.
Yeah, and me and my sister Jai will be getting in some good trouble at Decon. That conversation should be not really so much a conversation because she's leading her own room. I have no idea what I'm going to be talking about in my room. But y'all know me, I keep it spicy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, we need some spice.
It's gonna be scripture and sriracha. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be spicy. You know what I'm saying? But thank you everybody for tuning in this morning. I was about to say tonight. I usually do this at night, but thank you everybody for tuning in today. This was good. This was fun. I know that this won't. And the funny thing is, like, a lot of people think like I will only talk to people publicly. I know me and my sister Jai, especially since I found out she lives in my area code. Oh yeah, that's gonna be. It's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna try to figure out where she's been hiding over the last 2 years with this whole pandemic and everything and protests. Because I used to hit the streets a lot and I didn't see her, but that's besides the point. We were all masked.
I was up there,
huh? Yeah, we was out here. We out here. You know what I'm saying? Thank you everybody for tuning in today. Always remember you are beautiful, blessed, and beloved. Raisins don't go on potato salad. My sister Jai, would you eat? Do you put mayonnaise on peas?
What? No.
Really? Huh. Okay. How about avocados and condensed milk?
What? I mean, I've heard of like avocado ice cream, which would start with that, but I've never.
But like avocados, open a can of condensed milk, douse it, and just chew. Yeah, eat that joint up.
I've never heard of that.
But the mayonnaise on peas, you rock with that? Yes or no? Yes.
I've never heard of that. I will try anything once, except for peanuts because I'm allergic. But it doesn't sound very promising. I'll say that.
Yeah, it probably isn't. Racists don't call potato salad, and Jesus wasn't white.